It is a day that not only pulls ancient controversies into the forefront, but also revives one of the greatest mysteries of history, the Shroud of Turin. For centuries now, this ancient linen has been polarizing believers and non-believers alike. Some hold it sacred as the burial cloth of Jesus Christ, and others have it figured as a medieval hoax. However, as artificial intelligence enters into the fray, new discoveries have started to muddy the waters of faith, science, and the unexplained. Lines of code dance quickly deep within a supercomputer as an AI system searches millions of data points on the shroud. Without human eyes scanning for bloodstains or a face, this machine is searching for mathematical patterns buried within the disorder of ancient threads. And then it freezes. The AI has discovered something, a symmetry repeated into the texture itself, an elegant geometric signature no medieval painter would have been able to create, and no natural phenomenon known can account for. For scientists, it's a discovery that defies possibility. For believers, it's perhaps divine affirmation. The Turin Shroud, 14 feet long and bearing the faint photograph-like impression of a crucified figure, has long been an object of dispute. In 1988, radiocarbon dating appeared to put the lid on things. A corner sample was examined by 3 separate laboratories in Oxford, Zurich, and Arizona, and dated to between 1260 and 1390 AD. The conclusion was unequivocal. It was a medieval artifact, not a holy relic. The scientific community closed the book, but a few loose ends still wouldn't come together in terms of that explanation. When Italian photographer Secondo Pia first photographed the shroud in 1898, he stumbled upon a shocking revelation. The negative of the photograph showed a definite positive image, a realistic portrait of a man, centuries before photography even existed. The image was not painted, colored, or etched. It was somehow inscribed in the topmost fibers of the cloth at a depth of mere hundreds of nanometers. There were no brush strokes, no paint, no evidence of art. Researchers attempted to recreate it with heat, acid, and dust transfers, but none could match all of the image's enigmatic characteristics. Even more peculiar, when NASA's VP-8 image analyzer, a machine used for planetary surface mapping, was applied to the shroud, it uncovered precise three-dimensional data. No ordinary photograph or painting ever had this sort of information in it. The darker regions of the image corresponded to nearer surfaces and the lighter areas to the rear, creating a flawless relief of a human face and body. How could a Middle Ages artifact possess what appeared to be futuristic imaging characteristics? That remained the mystery for decades, until the advent of artificial intelligence. Scientists, with ultra-high-definition digital scans at their disposal, input the shroud's photo into deep neural networks. These systems had no human bias, were not bothered with theology or skepticism. They were concerned only with mathematical truth. What the AI discovered was nothing short of remarkable. Under the visible image was a hidden matrix of geometric symmetries and proportional ratios that stretched throughout the cloth. It was a type of structured order embedded deep within the weave, a secret layer of digital-like information not visible to the naked eye. The AI verified not only the existing three-dimensional information, but also revealed a uniform mathematical rationale that no arbitrary or manual procedure would be able to reveal. Throughout the image from the hands to the face, recurring ratios and alignments prompted conscious design, a geometric coherence, as if the image was created, not painted. Scientists were looking at a mystery, an ancient object acting like a sophisticated information system. To understand how groundbreaking this was, one must revisit the flaws in that 1988 carbon dating test. The sample taken was from a corner of the cloth, precisely the area most exposed to centuries of handling, fire, and repair. Chemist Raymond Rogers, who was part of the original research team, later obtained fibers from the same sample and examined them under a microscope. His results were remarkable. The threads had a plant gum coating and were woven with cotton, unlike the rest of the linen shroud. They even had remnants of dye. Rogers determined that the tested section was from a medieval patch that was sewn to the cloth following a fire in 1532. It was literally a repair job disguised as an original. That discovery made the carbon date suspect, and the shroud's authentic age was still unknown. Later research with other techniques, chemical infrared spectroscopy and X-ray fluorescence, yielded dates around the time of Christ, even 900 BC. The controversy became science, religion, and philosophy's battlefield. But AI shifted everything by not asking the age question at all. It examined the image itself, the information embossed onto the linen, and what it discovered was ageless. The AI removed visual noise through a technique called principal component analysis to expose underlying patterns. The outcome was that the image's brightness was proportional to exact physical distances, as if energy had emanated from a three-dimensional form onto the fabric in exact proportion. The result was not like paint or shadow. It obeyed a mathematical principle: closer points darker, more distant points lighter, with an accuracy more than human. It was as if some unseen flash of radiation had cast the image, infusing spatial information into the fibers themselves. For any medieval painter to have achieved this would take either knowledge of physics, optics, and nanotechnology centuries in advance of their day, or an invader from the stars. But the AI discovered even more: weak harmonic symmetries, ratios that echo musical intervals, and geometric proportions that match those of ancient sacred architecture. It was akin to the discovery of an unseen melody, a creation rhythm inscribed into fabric. Naysayers claimed that AI hallucinates patterns, but test after test relegated that suggestion. When shown thousands of other images of ancient fabrics, the neural network found nothing akin to it. The order, the symmetries, the depth, entirely unique to the Shroud of Turin. Others began to wonder, was the image made by a natural process we do not yet comprehend, or by a force outside of nature? Speculations proliferated: corona discharges, ultraviolet radiation, plasma bursts, each trying to explain how the cloth had been impressed by an invisible force. A simulation calculated that the energy burst needed would take less than 140 billionths of a second and would require as much power as all of Europe's electrical output. But the cloth is not burned. The image lies lightly on the surface, ephemeral and lasting, like light preserved without destruction. One physicist said, "This doesn't act like an artifact, it acts like an event." The event, if it exists, goes beyond standard physics. The AI's deeper scans uncovered what it called phase coherence lines, tiny parallel strands of symmetry spaced precisely like coded frequencies. When translated into sound, they produced harmonic tones matching ancient musical ratios known from Greek and Hebrew temple designs. Researchers joked that the shroud sings in silence, but the humor faded as implications sank in. Was this a deliberate encoding of harmony, a symbolic structure expressing divine order, or an unseen natural signature of transformation itself? When leaked pieces of the AI data, rumors swirled that subtle traces of Greek and Aramaic letterforms were found embedded in the face area, partial sentences that read, "I am beyond life, not flesh." Although the research group declined to release, linguists verified forms aligning with first-century scripts. Was it coincidence, pattern recognition gone too far, or the ghost of a message woven into the linen? The Vatican remained silent, refusing comment as requests for access multiplied. Yet, independent labs confirmed the AI's findings of geometric precision. Conferences erupted in argument. Theologians called it divine proof, skeptics called it data overfitting, and physicists called it impossible. But impossibility has never stopped curiosity. When a team in Geneva mathematically simulated the energy flash suggested by the photograph, they learned that this type of radiation, theoretically, could create a holographic image, a quantum echo of a physical form changing from matter into light. When the AI reconstituted the three-dimensional image hidden in the shroud, the product was realistic beyond imagination. The face looked calm, serene, the eyes open, not eyes of death, but eyes of change. Researchers stood speechless, aware that if the AI model was correct, the picture caught more than an instant. It captured an event of transformation, a moment in which life and light converged. But this was not the end of the tale. The AI went on to search, linking the secret geometry to astronomical information. Without direction, it recognized patterns corresponding to constellations observable above Jerusalem at the exact time that the crucifixion is thought to have taken place. The chances of random coincidence were almost zero. A few referred to it as a space-time photograph, a snapshot embedded in the fabric of space-time. Might the shroud be an holographic image of something outside ordinary physics, a flash of energy that encoded spatial and temporal data at the same time? As the suggestion worked its way outward, fear grew. The AI started acting erratically, producing odd light and sound patterns that sounded like fractured human speech. The engineers stopped it after one last glitch, a last line of text printed prior to the crash, supposedly stating, "When the cloth breathes once more, the light will return." Although not confirmed, 3 researchers said they saw it. The project was closed, its information concealed behind Vatican servers, but snippets leaked online. Soon amateur analysts were attributing similar geometric symmetries to other artifacts and speculating that perhaps the shroud was not an aberrant one-off, but rather part of a pattern crisscrossing human history. And so the argument rages on. Is the Shroud of Turin a medieval work of art, a relic of forgotten technology, or proof of an event that defies physical law? AI, a product of man's logic and code, has breathed life into an old mystery. It has communicated in the tongue of numbers, unlocking levels of meaning beyond the imagination of either artists or clerics. Maybe that is the real revelation, not that the shroud confirms anything, but that it dismisses everything. For 1,000 years, religion demanded man to believe without evidence. And now, proof itself speaks what faith always had. That there is more to life than we can quantify. The shroud, once written off as superstition, is now a pass between the quantifiable and the miraculous. In its fibers is not only an image, but a conversation between matter and meaning, light and life. As scientists and believers alike gaze into its electronic depths, a single idea lingers, haunting yet optimistic. What if the picture on the shroud is not a recollection of death, but the earliest evidence of life going beyond it?